Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a new experiment. We're going to call this Unstable Thoughts with Chris and Rusty. I've chosen for the first topic of this show that is meant to be mostly about mental health to do stigma around mental health and to focus primarily on depression and anxiety, because I know that that's something that I struggle with personally, and we'll let Rusty speak for himself here in a minute. But we're gonna dive into a little bit of stigma, and not just from the perspective of other people. How much does stigma that you've learned about depression or anxiety affect you personally when you are the person that suffers from anxiety and depression? Do you internalize thoughts and beliefs about what that means and enforce that upon yourself to your own detriment? We'll let Rusty throw out a couple thoughts here. What do you think, man? Say hi.
Hello. I am Rusty. I as well. I suffer from depression and anxiety, which I think one might, have something to do with the other at times. And this self-stigma is, I didn't realize it, but, and I guess a lot of people don't realize it, that they believe what society puts against them, or how they look at them, and I think it causes them to not do as well as they could otherwise. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think that's well said.
To stigmatize something is to accuse or condemn or openly or formally brand as disgraceful. And mental health, is not disgraceful. It's just a part of somebody, and there are ways to I don't know, combat it, or work to not. What do you think?
Yeah, I gotta confess that the study that I read earlier today, dealing with self-stigma in persons with mental illnesses, is a real problem. Say, for example, somebody takes the popular stereotype that a person with depression or anxiety is weak, and therefore, because I have that, I must be weak as well.
Right.
When you take the stereotype or the stigma that is assigned or labeled to depression, and you internalize that to yourself, it doesn't help you deal with depression or anxiety, or the negative consequences that go with those. And I've probably been very guilty of stigmatizing others with these conditions over my lifetime as well. In my early and mid 20s, I know personally I would think about somebody that said, "Hey, I've been battling with depression and I'm struggling with this, and taking medication perhaps." And although I would never have said it out loud to one of those persons, I know that I thought it in my head, Well, just look at the positive things you got going on in your life. What's wrong with you? Like,
Right.
why you got to focus on the negative? Why are you so stuck in your own head? You know, like, what do you think, Rusty?
Yeah. I guess some let's throw out some glossary terms here. Social stigma is a severe social disapproval of personal characteristics or beliefs that are against cultural norms. Um, a stereotype is a generalized perception of first impressions, behaviors presumed by a group of people, judging with the eyes, criticizing one's outer appearance to be associated with another specific group. Um, Self esteem is, of course, our individual sense of self worth, and self efficacy, which it's an individual's ability to set and reach a goal. And I think that is something I have always struggled with was goals and the ability to set a goal and then visualize me getting there. My life is so full of unfinished projects, and I wonder if maybe depression or whatever it is with me, and I'm guessing that's what it is, it has something to do with that.
I think that's some pretty good self awareness and some deep thought that that goes into that there. What do you think are some societies stereotypes assigned to depression?
Hmm. I don't. What they assign to
Yeah,
depression,
when you think of somebody that is clinically depressed,
right?
what are the stereotypes that you think go along with that?
Hmm. Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what other people would think. Um,
Well, one of them, maybe happy people couldn't possibly be depressed.
right. So they're sad.
Robin Williams is a perfect example of that. He's a happy person. He couldn't possibly suffer from depression.
Right. And then as it turns out, that was something that he fought most of his life.
Yeah.
So,
And what happens then when someone who does suffer from depression takes that stereotype and internalizes it about themselves?
right. I guess
You know,
it would just build on that depression. I mean, you're feeling depressed. You don't, well, I'm depressed. And it just kind of,
but I'm a happy person. Nobody believes or is going to
right.
understand or believe or
Hmm.
how about maybe depression is not a permanent or ongoing thing. It can only be ascribed to a certain set of circumstances that are going on in your life at that very moment.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's not something that you struggle with when you're happy. Happy people don't have depression.
Hmm. Right.
I'd like to think that sometimes I'm pretty happy. Sometimes I'm pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, yeah, I never thought about that. Um, but looking up some of the signs and symptoms of clinical depression, it was uh, feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, hopelessness, uh, angry outburst, irritability, frustration, even over small matters. This is mine. Loss of interest or pleasure in most or all normal activities, hobbies, sports. even sex, but I think I'm still okay there. Sleep disturbances, including insomnia. I am all over that. Tiredness, lack of energy, so even small tasks take extra effort. Reduced appetite and weight loss. Um, Increased cravings for food. Yeah, that too. Anxiety, agitation, restlessness. Slowed thinking, speaking, or body movements. Probably slowed thinking.
It's kind of like you read me a description that somebody wrote about Rusty.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Just about every single one of these. It says unexplained physical problems, back pain or headaches. I don't have that. Um,
And I'm not certain how depression could feed into or affect, either your back hurts or it doesn't.
right.
Like, will your
Maybe.
mind make it?
So that's a good question. Maybe it
I
would.
don't know.
Maybe it would magnify something that might just be a
An
whatever,
irritant.
nothing. Yeah. Trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That
I know a
is.
lot of people that fit a lot of those various things. And it is difficult to deal with them.
Yeah. The symptoms are usually severe enough to cause noticeable problems in relationships with others or in day-to-day activities such as work, school, or social activities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you be clinically depressed, just at times? Is that a thing? Is that like because I don't, and of course,
I think
my
there can
wife,
be a trigger for it that brings it
right,
on.
right. Of course, my wife might have something to say, but I don't see, I don't see a problem. Yeah, I probably need to ask the wife about this. In my relationship with the wife, we do a lot of things together. We have fun doing a lot of things together, like building our little camper. That was a big deal, and that was
Yep.
actually probably like the first real. And I'm 40, or I was 45, I guess at the time. That was probably the first real project from beginning planning stages, doing everything and actually following through. But it was so hard. I mean, it
Yeah.
took so much out of me to make myself go and do
Do it.
something to it every day, trying
Yeah.
to get to that end goal. And it was a struggle, but
Yeah.
it paid off in the end. It was, something that we love together. And, but yeah, I have so many unfinished car,
Yeah.
projects from my youth, stuff like that.
Something I've noticed so far in this conversation that we're having, you
Hmm.
and me, regarding depression or anxiety.
Hmm.
You
What's that?
have only once or twice actually tilted your chin up enough that your eyeballs see the camera.
Well, the camera's up here, and I have to look. I can't.
Yeah, I know, but I do a different show with you on a weekly basis where we're together for 2 hours
Oh,
at a time, and
right.
I can see your eyes for almost the entire show in that one.
Oh, yeah.
That tells me that talking about this
Well,
is difficult.
oh, yeah. It. Mhm.
It's it's not an easy conversation, and it's not a comfortable conversation to have. I know that personally, I've put off doing this initial show for probably about 3 days now.
Wow.
I had the banner and the music ready several days ago, but being open or honest about this and putting it on a recording where somebody else is going to listen to it and critique it and think, what a bunch of whiners.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's.
a stereotype that I have in my head, I guess, of
I think it might have
what
something to do
depression
with
and anxiety is,
our generation.
and I've applied that to myself. That I think discussing depression and the things that it takes away from you feels like whining.
Right.
That's not right. I
No.
know better than that, but I apply that to myself anyway.
Yeah, I do too.
I unfairly apply that to others then as well, I would imagine. How many biases do I need to challenge of my very own? Down this path of dealing with depression and anxiety. I've spent probably most of the last 20 years dealing with it through self medication, whether it be getting stoned as bejesus. I haven't done that now in about 16 years, but I did for a long, long time. I bet most of the last of that 16 years, I probably didn't go much more than a week or two without drinking.
Right.
Most of the time, not that long. I didn't even start exploring antidepressant medications until probably a year and a half ago. And they made me feel kind of zombie-ish, so I just stopped taking them.
Right.
And then about 4 months ago, got to a point where I think we can all agree that that was clearly unwise. And now I'm working on some different medications with the doctor, and they seem to
Do
be
you,
working all right.
so do you think that it was not the medication, not being on the medication that
Well,
that that did it,
not being on the. Go ahead with
or
your questions. I'm
alcohol,
sorry.
or the alcohol? That's all right. Or the alcohol. You know,
I think there
alcohol,
was a combination of all of it.
all of it, right?
I've got a severe problem with depression. Add in a depressant like alcohol to the
Yeah,
extent that I did that night,
right.
and not take the medication that's designed to help adjust a chemical imbalance. The SRIs or the SNRIs help your brain to retain serotonin that it has
Uh-huh.
and absorb it. A person suffering from depression, oftentimes their brain doesn't make enough serotonin for one, and they don't absorb it well for another. So the SRI and the SNRI class of medications in the antidepressant categories, um, my wife, if she listens to this later, is probably just going to smuck me all about the head and shoulders because I'm explaining it terribly.
Yeah.
But it does something to the receptors inside of your head that allow you to retain and absorb and make better use of the serotonin that your body does have.
Hmm. And I'm guessing SRI would be serotonin receptor something.
Right.
I and then
I'm going to
SN
guess that that might be true.
and SNRI. I don't know what that would be.
The
Something.
doctor that I was talking to about moving to an SNRI said that there's three different main channels inside of a person's head that they can use to help combat depression.
Mm-hmm.
And the SRIs affect one channel. To the best of my understanding, that would be the um, serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
And then SNRIs affect two channels.
Hmm.
To be perfectly honest, I don't know what the second channel is. And
Yeah.
I should probably ask somebody or do some reading to figure it out.
Right.
But that medication seems to do a better job of not making me feel like a zombie like the SRIs that I abandoned did. Because Zymbalta is an SRI with an extra step. And apparently that extra step for me, whatever it's doing, helps me to not feel like I'm a walking zombie, because that, of course, is not any good. I don't want to be a
Right.
great. I don't feel like killing myself today
Right.
necessarily, but
Right.
meh. What else am I gonna do?
Right. Yeah. My best friend in 2013 took his life, and uh, you know, we had fell out of touch with each other for a period of years, and we got back together, and immediately upon talking to him, we met over Facebook. You know, I found him on Facebook, and
Yeah,
um, he had him and his wife had split, and I could immediately tell that, you know, he was down. He wasn't in a, you know, good time of his life, and uh, at that point, he had quit drinking,
hmm,
which was great. But and I
right.
know I'm going to get slack from people about this because marijuana is supposed to be the damn cure all for everything, and by God, it's not. And
No,
especially when you're dealing with mental health, and in my experience, all right. So maybe it does
well, there are some
help
people
some
that have
people.
trouble with it,
Yeah, and yeah,
just like
maybe
anything else.
yeah, maybe some people do get a good. So my apologies there. Maybe it does, but what it did to me and what I seen it do to him was keep him from uh, wanting to do anything. You know,
Yeah,
he'd smoke pot or whatever, and then he'd just stay shut up in the house all day. He wouldn't want to go outside. And then the weeks, and there would be weeks because he didn't have much money and he wouldn't have any. He would go and do things, you know, but he
yep.
never would put that them two things together. And I think it just kind of worked on itself that he, you know, he he'd feel bad, he'd smoke some weed or whatever, and maybe he'd chill out, but he wouldn't want to go, and it just kind of built. Uh, you know, I think if he could have stayed away from it long enough to get his life back in order, that he might still be here. And I still wish. I find myself wishing a lot that I could call him and talk to him about crap, but
Do you
no,
think that he was ever honest with himself, um,
no,
in being depressed, or talking about it, or thinking
no.
that he? Okay.
No, I believe he was self stigmatized, you know, and just you know, he no confidence, no motivation, just
So maybe the fourth one here on stereotypes. People who experience depression aren't mentally strong.
right,
Nobody wants to see themselves like that. Nobody wants anybody else to see them like that.
right, right,
So people applying that stigma or stereotype to others is dangerous, and applying that to yourself, that's really dangerous.
yeah, yeah, um,
I'm weak. I'm useless. What good am I?
right.
These
What
are
happened? Oh, my beautiful wife.
stereotypes that I've applied to myself.
Yeah, there is. Here's some what
Not thinking
happened.
those is difficult.
Yeah. All right. So I've got some bullet points here. What happens when self stigma rules our lives? Uh, we
Okay.
set we set ourselves unrealistic expectations. We feel shame and guilt. We let our inhibitions take control. We
Okay.
resort to avoidance tactics. man, I am the world's best at avoiding stuff. We lose
Huh?
confidence and motivation,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
withdraw from friends and
From
family,
people and things.
and see, and that's what I think, it is. You withdraw, you become isolated and lonely, so you want to withdraw more. You feel meal. It's like a snowball effect. I think you feel shame and guilt, so you want to be isolated, and
Yeah,
and then
that's true.
you look on the outside and you think, well, I mean, or you think other people looking in is, well, he's weak, and so you feel
What's
shameful
wrong with
about
him?
that.
Why can't he just find the positive things
Yeah,
and
right. Yeah,
see all
yeah,
the things that he's good at? What's I clearly his life's not that bad. Why is he like that? Huh. Yep.
hmm.
I withdrew for several months. I didn't talk to anybody. And thanks to a couple of good friends that they never pushed me. They never poked me like they were trying to get me to do, but they constantly invited me. Why don't you come record the show for us? You don't have to do anything. Just record it for us. A few weeks later,
Yeah,
why don't you pop in for like the last half hour or something? We need, some extra material tonight. They didn't need any extra material for that night, but they did what they could without pushing and without providing any judgments or any. That group of friends is really amazing. They helped draw me back out. Staying out is also difficult.
yeah,
I've spent some time talking to a therapist that I see every other week about how I would really rather go lay in the recliner with a big, fluffy, comfy blanket and a pillow and pick whatever I'm going to binge watch on Netflix. And she said, "Well, but you really like this other show you go do, and it doesn't really cause you any extra work because you're going to record it anyway, right? Well, you might as well sit there and enjoy it for a little while. You're going to listen to it anyway." Yeah. Not self stigmatizing, not isolating. These are choices that a person has to make for themselves and for their own mental health. Personally, I think that it's done better for me to go out for a little bit, basically. I didn't actually go anywhere because, oh, God, I don't want to do that. But I made contact. I did something and felt like I was productive for a little bit. It's not that big of a step, but it can make a lot of difference.
so here's some of the things that you touched on, that you found out yourself, ways to challenge self-stigma. uh, make an effort to notice and value your strengths. um, do things that help you feel good about yourself. uh,
Yeah.
Identify people who are positives and supported in your life and spend more time with them. um,
Yeah.
Notice your negative internal voice or feelings, and challenge it with positive ones.
That's tough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It's very tough.
Do you have a negative internal voice, Rusty?
Oh, absolutely. Uh, well,
Huh.
that's kind of
I wonder if
obvious.
anybody listening to this would ever have guessed that.
Probably but they don't notice it as much as my compadres on the other show, because they know that there is never a show that I am totally happy with, ever, ever. I can't just, you know,
Yeah, we're just never going to make radio gold with the Rusty rating system.
I just, and
The
then
RRS is a hard standard.
yes, and then something that you have done and you have now pointed me towards, because I didn't even realize this was a thing, but it all makes perfect sense. But this is further educate yourself about self stigma. Education is argued to be helpful in reducing as well as preventing self stigma. So there
Yeah,
you go.
I think that there's probably a lot of self stigma that we do to ourselves that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to get to be aware of it is to challenge ourselves and go look at it. Go read it. And if there's anybody out there that's actually listening to this conversation, I would encourage you to go look at it too.
Yeah.
Go read it. Has any of this conversation struck a chord with you? Do you deal with these struggles, these issues? Do you find yourself being overly critical of yourself? Wow, that was really poorly worded, Chris. Damn it.
Use your words. Use your words.
Use your words. Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
take a look. There's a lot to read. It's not hard to find.
No.
And I spent about 3 hours this morning reading about it. Because this morning, I finally said, you've put this off long enough, Chris. You did the work. You put together the graphic. You made the music. You've already talked to Rusty about doing it. Do it. And so now we did. Another thing on my list here, number 5. Everyone with depression takes medication. That's not true at all. Rusty, you on any antidepressants?
No, I'm not. However, I have found something that,
You should think about that.
yeah, yeah. But I have found something that I can immediately um, tell a difference with. And to me, there is a self stigma, or possibly a stereotype from, the people, the men, I guess, who, I can't believe I'm going to talk about this. I have a problem letting people know about this. When you get to your 40s, you start losing testosterone. Your body's just not putting it out there anymore, and I mean it's essential part of being a man, and it it
Yeah.
it makes you think clear headed. There is another host who actually talked about this, and it made me feel a lot better about it when he talked about it, because he's got such this manly persona. But he as well is taking testosterone, and I can completely tell a difference. I get it monthly, and towards the end of the month, I can tell that it's affecting me, that my levels have dropped, but it keeps me positive.
Okay.
It keeps me clear headed. It knocks down a lot of negative thoughts in my head. Not all of them, so maybe some antidepressants wouldn't be a bad thing to look into, but I can't believe I'm saying this on a show, because there's a
Yeah.
there's a
There's no judgment
there's
here,
a
my friend.
stereotype. You have to take testosterone.
I think there's a stereotype that you're enforcing on
Yeah,
yourself
well,
here.
and I wonder, if
I think it's just like any other chemical that your body may not be
right,
producing in a good quantity, if there's a medical fix for it,
Right.
there shouldn't really be any shame or judgment for using that fix.
I have to wonder if our generation and the ones before it and stuff that if there might be something to, you know, the way we think about stuff, the way, what am I trying to say? The way,
Well, the generation before us that raised us was even harder on this kind of stuff than we probably
right?
are.
Yeah. It yeah. You didn't hear.
The path to enlightenment is long, and dealing with the judgments of others is never
No.
easy.
And I hear a lot of people say that they don't care what other people think. Well, that's a damn lie. Uh,
It is, but it shouldn't
right.
be. Care about the opinions of those that support you.
Yes, that matter.
Care about the opinions of those that care about you.
Yeah.
Care about the opinions of those who try and help you to be a better person. Don't care about negative opinions from people that offer nothing positive to your life.
Yeah.
And as I say that, I think inside my head, yeah, right, you can't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Mm.
I think I can, and I think I will today. We'll see if I can remind myself of that tomorrow.
Right.
Last one on my list. Depression isn't a real illness. It is. There's been years, probably a lot of years in my life, where I didn't acknowledge it for anybody. I didn't acknowledge it for myself. And I further stigmatized it in other people. Shame on me. I won't do that again. I think in this particular case, God might have said, you want to stigmatize somebody else's problems? That's shameful. And here, how about you walk a mile in their shoes? Because you already had those shoes on, you just didn't know it.
Mm.
Yeah. Depression is a pain to deal with. And now that I've gone almost 5 months without medicating it via illegal means or alcohol means, fighting it on a daily basis is a tough thing.
Right.
Finding support to fight it is important. If there's anybody out there listening to this right now that struggles with it and doesn't have anybody to talk to, you go ahead and find me. There are multiple social media channels for you to send me a message and say, hi, Chris. I don't have anybody to talk to about this. I'm here.
Hmm.
Yeah. You got anything else you want to talk to about or talk about on this topic of? Oh, I wanted to go through this diagram.
Yeah, go.
All right, I'm gonna throw it up on screen quick here. This was in the article that I read, or the hell, really, it was more of a scientific study on stigma and a person's self-esteem, self-efficacy being diminished because of concurring negative beliefs when you allow those stereotypes to be internalized to yourself. when you accept them. You know, a group identification of a problem or an illness, providing it legitimacy that you then accept for yourself. Are you aware of that stereotype? Do you agree with that stereotype? If you agree with that stereotype and internalize it, you push those negatives further on yourself, causing reduced self-esteem and reduced self-efficacy. I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of pushing the social stereotypes. I'm guilty of accepting them. Now, what are your thoughts there, Rusty? What do you think about, and that diagram pretty well nails down what
Yeah.
we've been discussing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I wonder if we could get somebody maybe in a future episode to somebody in the field that could
Yep.
I don't know, throw a little more wiser words in, to help us discuss this.
I think we know somebody that does that stuff or is working on it anyway. They're going to be a therapist.
Yeah. A therapist.
Yeah. Therapist.
Or would or maybe you're somebody that you speak with now, maybe they could tell or give you a suggestion for somebody. I don't know if they would.
I imagine they would probably provide me some reading materials at the very least.
There you go. Yeah.
Another article that I found right before we roll the closing music and get on out of here. I'm going to give you a quick what this article has for 9 ways to fight mental health stigmas.
Okay.
Talk openly about mental health. Have that conversation. That can be difficult when you're not comfortable with the people you're talking to. There's a reason that I chose Rusty to have this conversation and that we just did it one-on-one. It's not easy to do. It's definitely not easy to do in a group. But we need to get better at that. Educate yourself and others. Well, I started working on that today. I did some reading. Rusty did some reading. I'd like anybody listening to this also do some reading.
Yeah.
If you suffer from depression or anxiety, do some reading and find out how you can help yourself better. If you don't, do some reading and find out how you can support somebody else in your life, because I promise you there's somebody close to you that does.
Yeah.
Be careful with language. Don't add to the stereotypes and the stigmas. I don't know exactly how we go about reversing them, but be careful with your language. Help people who are internalizing those stigmas to themselves find their way back out of that, because they're doing damage to themselves.
Yeah.
Encourage equality between physical illnesses and mental illnesses. Depression is like a broken leg. It's just a broken leg that's going to take a lot longer to heal. What do you think, man?
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of profound in itself.
Show compassion for those with a mental illness. I know I'm getting better at it. It's a shame that it took me realizing that I was one of them. I should have been better at showing compassion for those suffering with depression or anxiety before I found myself in the situation to also need that compassion. Choose empowerment over shame. Help them find something they're good at. Encourage them to do it. Be honest with yourself, with somebody else. Let the
That's
media know they're being stigmatized. Is this one? I think that one's kind of dumb. Letting the media currently know anything is just foolish. They're going to push their own agenda anyway.
yeah,
But I didn't want to skip that one because, well, it's written.
yeah.
And the last one, don't be a harbor for self-stigma. Analyze your beliefs about a mental illness that you might be suffering with and challenge your beliefs about it. You're depressed? Yeah, me too. It's all right. We're going to be okay. You are not a weak person. Fighting a battle inside your own head on a daily basis is hard. And if you do that, and you beat your own demons on a daily basis, you are strong. And I am proud of you.
Yeah.
Rusty, you got any closing notes you want to toss out?
Just on what you were just saying, that people anticipate that they will be discriminated against. So, talk to people.
There are more resources than you know. There are more people that care than you know. And if you don't have anybody else to talk to about it, you come find me. I'll talk to you. Have a great night. Later.